Hi friends and followers. So I'm still getting to know the FT-102 here. So I've been trying to use this thing like a real radio, trying to not work on it so much, but tune the transmitter and see how it would run. I found lots of difficulties where when I would tune the transmitter on 40 meters, I had low output. So that was traced to misalignment of the switch contacts. And so let's go into detail on the history of the radio. First of all, I took out this whole RF board, meaning all these shafts came out, and all these shafts are easy to get in, except for this one. This shaft is easy, but this shaft goes to this variable capacitor here, which has no beginning or no end. It rotates indefinitely. And so what you have to understand with this capacitor is when you increase band frequency, it seems when you increase this knob, when you increase your plate tuning, you want less capacitance and not more. So this capacitor should be moving toward a point of less capacitance. However, if you see how these plates are meshed like that, that is pretty much the same capacitance, but you can also get that same mesh at the other end of this capacitor if you are sort of like that. And then when you turn this knob clockwise, you're increasing your capacitance, and that makes it work backwards. So that had me kind of stymied for a bit until today I finally figured out what was wrong with it and I corrected it. So you can get this thing on wrong. You got a 50-50 of getting this thing right. So anyway, when you are increasing your plate tuning, you want the capacitance to go down when you turn clockwise toward a higher frequency. So that's how that works. Here the capacitance is going down because we're tuning the plates out from each other. That's one secret. The other one is this detent here. When you're in a certain band detent, so you want to say go to 40 meters or 10 megahertz or 20 meters, you want to make sure that when these detents are clicking and this knob is good and steady, which this one is, you want to make sure that all these contacts on these wafers here are aligned in the middle of the switch contact for that band. So I was lucky enough not to get these out of sync. You could get these out of sync pretty easily. I didn't. But you want to just note that when this thing clicks in the detent, the little fingers are where they should go. And let's see if I can demo that a bit here. So there's the detents right there. Oh yeah, you can see the fingers now. So watch the little fingers in there. And you can see, let's get one to come up here. There's one. So make sure that's right smack in the middle, if you can, if the detent's not worn out and the switch isn't worn out. So I found that these switches on the RF board are pretty good. They don't seem to suffer from too much. And if this switch is lined up, the shaft is common, so this fiber shaft will be common to the other two rotaries here, and so those should be lined up perfectly with this one. There's no reason for them not to be lined up unless this thing was abused in some way. So that leads to the third culprit here. At least on this radio, this coupling here has some slop. So when I will turn it from side to side, the wafers on the back here on the tank coil don't really line up sometimes how they should. And maybe I can demo that here a bit. So that kind of threw me here in 40 meters. I was trying to tune the radio and it wouldn't tune right. I couldn't get full power out of it. I was getting sloppy plate dip, and this thing is not a real big plate dip radio, and without taking out that tube, I probably can't show you. I don't want to take that tube out right yet, but I've had the tube out too many times and it's hard to get out. So let's take a look in here. Anyway, suffice it to say, I've been watching this last wafer here, and okay, there it is right there. And so I can't get a picture of the of the actual finger going by, or can I? Let's see if I can get a picture of the finger going by. Anyway, these were sloppy. When I turned it to one side to the other, the finger would not return. So I found that I had to more or less try the switch and loosen the coupling right there, and then get some needle nose onto this shaft here, onto the shaft, on the back of the shaft, it's a fiber shaft, which you can see in there, and turn that a bit. Now, the worry I had was that I had turned it too far, and I was one band off, so that did not happen, luckily. But then I spent time trying to figure out how this thing works, because I thought maybe I had turned it too far and it just wasn't working right. And it wasn't working right due to the fact that I had this wasn't really going the right way. It wasn't reducing capacitance here, it was increasing capacitance. So that once it reduces capacitance, we turn it counterclockwise. That was the key to it. So that fixed that. And now that thing tracks pretty accurately as far as megahertz goes. Anyway, let's take a look again at the schematic here and see what's going on with this thing. So here's the schematic here for the tank coil, and let me try and get it a little bigger here. I'm not sure why this thing's always giving me trouble. It goes 2 pages. I'm not sure why. I don't want 2 pages. I'm trying to get it larger. All right, so here's the tank coil here. And I was really trying to figure out how this works. And so how this works is 10 meters has this little coil right here, L2. And sure enough, you can see L2, that's this coil right here, that's L2, right there. So that's how they navigate that. And since these two 10-meter bands are close by, they're just using that L2, and they're not really using this coil here at all, L1. So everything goes through L2, but it doesn't matter at low frequencies, L2 gets ignored. So the way this works then is that when you're on, say, 160 meters here, it uses the whole coil. So the coil begins here, and it just uses the whole thing. Basically, this switch will be shorting out windings in the coil, making the coil shorter. So it goes 160 here, and then 80 meters, and then 40, and then 10 megahertz, and then, which is 30 meters, and then it goes 20 meters, and then it goes to 15, and then 24 megacycles, and then it goes to, I'm sorry, I forgot something here. I think I forgot 20 meters. But anyway, let's do it over. I'm tired. Okay, here's 160 right here. There's 80 meters. There's 40, 30 meters. And I'll do it again. I'm tired. 160, 80, 40, 30 meters. And then it goes to 20 meters, and then the 24 megahertz band. I'm forgetting one in here somewhere. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm forgetting some things. There's an 18 megahertz band too. So let me do it in megahertz. So we go with 1.8 for 160. We go with 3.7 for 80. 7 megahertz for 40. 10 megahertz for 30. And then we go to 14 megahertz for 20. 18 megahertz for whatever that band's called. And then it goes to, let's see, 18. Then it goes to 15 to 21. Anyway, I forgot one. It goes to 24. Anyway, there's 10 meters right there, all getting together, 28 and 29. So that's how that works for giving my dyslexic description of the bands, which I can't remember. And I was concerned about how to map that coil to the schematic because I thought my coil was off by a bit, but it wasn't. And so you can map it, but it's kind of difficult to see where all the wires are going on the coil. Obviously you can tell one end of it because this coil is the 10-meter side and that is starting off at L2 right here. The other side, of course, toward the 160 is at the other end of the coil, which is going to be way down there. So that's as far as I'll get into that. I did determine that my rotary switch in there was accurate. So all I did was loosen up this coupling here and rotate it so that wherever I moved this band switch, it would pretty much be on where it had to go. It slipped a bit here and there, but it pretty much hit the contact. And that gave me dependable band switching, at least on 40. I haven't checked the rest yet, but 40 is working well now. So that's what I wanted to go over. If you pull the RF board out, you end up taking out all these shafts. And this one, again, when you rotate it clockwise, you want to be decreasing capacitance on your scale. So if the scale is somewhere on this part here, whoa, I'm hitting something here. Hitting the capacitor, look at that. Let's get that out of the way. You don't want to hit anything here. That was an issue. Okay, so this will rotate indefinitely. Not that one, this one. So with that said, when you're on the scale here, say at 1.8 megahertz, or you're on 160 meters, from this point on, you want to be decreasing capacitance. So as you can see, it is decreasing capacitance because the veins are moving away from each other, and eventually here we're at least capacitance. And least capacitance here is roughly where on the scale? Can't see it. It is, I guess it's off the scale. Oh, it's up at 10 meters. So yeah, that's least capacitance. That's how it should work. This one is easy. You just have max capacitance at position 0 or 1. This one's the same way. You have it all the way counterclockwise, and you make that 0 or 1 on the scale. And that's all there is to this thing. Make sure you discharge the capacitors here, because these will bite you pretty hard. And I haven't really gone through too much of the neutralization yet in this thing. I'm still kind of getting to know how it works, so it seems good and steady so far. So that's about it for removing the RF board and getting all these little switches aligned. It's painful, but it's worth it. And once you do that, you'll have a pretty good radio. In the next video, I'll go through tuning this thing up on each band and showing what happens, okay? Thanks for watching. Have a great day.